Recently, I've had reason to sort through my books, and I've got lots of them. Many are going to op shops, some to theological bookstores, but there are a few books I cannot part with. And you might be surprised to find what they're about. I bought this book 50 years ago, and I've had it ever since. And it's To Keep Fit, made for the British pilots in the Second World War. 10 simple exercises. I'm sure you realize that I'm a little bit of a keep fit person, and I've used this on and off for years, and I can't throw it away. Here's another book. I've been using this for 45 years. It's the Book of Common Order from the Presbyterian Church of Australia, and I've used it so many times in so many places. For instance, I'm leading a big funeral, and the pages are coming out of my book. I turn to the page where the words of committal are. It's something I should know by memory, but my memory's wiped out with all those hundreds of people looking at me, and I can't turn the page or the page falls out. This book has been through many of my adventures. Now here's a book that is really quite historic for me, because when I was about 32, I went through a period, something like a nervous breakdown. But anyway, for a year I couldn't read anything. I couldn't read a story in the Reader's Digest, not even the joke page. But then, after a period of non-reading for about a year, I suddenly realized I could read again. Do you know why I was drawn to this book? Ivan Illich, Celebration of Awareness. Well, I'll tell you why. Because it's very thin. Only 80 pages. And I needed this because I'd gone a year where I couldn't read at all. A kind of a breakdown, I think, but anyway, I couldn't read. And this was the first book I read completely after I came out of that period of non-reading. And this man's about liberation theology. This is justice for the poor, freedom from oppression, greatly influenced some church leaders. Oscar Romero, the bishop of San Salvador, Catholic bishop, assassinated while he was taking the Mass because he was advocating that the rich should stop oppressing the poor, and he was advocating justice. But I read the book, and it's a good book because it was thin, and it was the start of another stage of my life. Here's one I'm not going to throw away. This is from Scott Peck. You probably know his book, The Road Less Traveled, but this one is called People of the Lie, and it's about evil. And do you know what he says? That most people in jail aren't really evil. They're just dumb, or they've been exploited, or they were addicted. The really evil people hardly ever go to prison. And how does he define evil? He defines it as people who have to appear to be self-righteous at all times, who deny any negative thoughts about themselves and put all the negative thoughts about trouble in the world on other people. And you know what else he says? He says a lot of evil people in the church, because evil people go to places like the church to hide. Evil people have to be respectable at all costs and project constantly the troubles of the world, the troubles of their society on other people. This book opened my mind and helped me to understand that some of the things I was seeing in the world and in the church were not at all of God, but rather people covering up, looking good and blaming others. This is the book from my daughter Michelle, and I helped her write this. I went through every poem, every word, because you couldn't read her writing, but wonderful writing. Made at 16, she started writing these poems when she was 12, and she published this when she was 16 years of age. Made at 16, she didn't think she was going to live that long. She was a kind of theologian, and in our church there was a young man called Craig, a beautiful athletic young man. He got leukemia when he was 19 and died when he was 20, and Michelle was very upset about this, and so she wrote a letter to God. I'll read it for you. Lord, I'm feeling sad. You know that you said life is eternal, but then how do you explain Craig? He's dying. I bet you can't explain that one. Even if you did have an excuse, I would not listen. Yes, I'm mad and sad. He could have had a career or been something, but instead you cut him off. You scared his family. Lord, I am mad. Ha! What miracle are you going to perform? Why are you making it so hard for us to love you? How do you explain Craig? Good night. And just to conclude this about books I can't throw away, here's a little poem my daughter wrote when she was 15, and it says, thank you. Thank you for today, its joy and pain. Thank you for the new beginnings and the endings. Tonight I'm praying for those who are on the edge, that somehow they might find strength. Perhaps they might find hope. In their tears there will be laughter. I'm praying that people with nothing might find something, and that old men may live again.